Hello, everyone who might still be watching. Welcome to a new week of Amy's Eyes. I've just come off the Barbarella live blog, and my god, what is that anyway? Okay, so we're doing chapter 4 of Amy's Eyes today. Follow my Bangalore man, follow my Bangalore man. I'll do all that ever I can to follow my Bangalore man. We'll borrow a horse and steal a gig, and round the world we'll do a jig. And I'll do all that ever I can to follow my Bangalore man. Not only this, in the wonder of things, not only this, that the captain was alive and could talk, but in less than a day's time he began to change into a real flesh-and-blood person. It happened so quickly, his button eyes turning into real eyes, his ears into real ears, his hair into real hair, and his skin into real skin, that Amy knew he must be hidden from sight or he would be discovered. It must be done right away, therefore she got busy at once sewing scraps of cloth to make a carry-bag to put the captain in. When she was finished, she didn't have to pop him into the bag like a limp doll. The captain could move by himself. He furled the edge of the bag like a sailcloth and stepped inside. "It'll do for now, sis," he said. "But it won't do for even a week, I'm afraid. I'm growing, you know. And I'm hungry as well." "I'll think of something," said Amy, closing the bag over his head. But she could think of nothing, and dared not tell even Missy Clare of her problem. For the next 2 days the captain grew 3 inches. Amy saved bread from her own meals, and a scrap of meat, perhaps, half a potato, a handful of peas. She also made him a new jacket and a pair of pants. During the day she let him peek over the top of the bag to get some fresh air, but even that was a risk. Sometimes, when other children were about, the captain shifted his position inside the bag. When this was noticed, it was hard for Amy to explain. Always she was on the lookout for Miss Quince, and stayed away from any of her paths of business. The captain continued growing. Each day he needed more food, so that Amy's health might be in danger if she continued to carry away so much of her own dinner from the table. Clearly, it was impossible that Amy should keep the captain. He was nearly half as tall as Amy now, and less than a week had passed since Amy had brought him out of his trance with her needle. Now he must double in two like a jackknife to fit in the bag, which was most uncomfortable for him. Anyone with half an eye would soon discover how it was with the captain. But Amy, thinking perhaps that some miracle as neat and quick as a pinprick might set things wonderfully to rights, let the deception bloom, although the situation would soon be obvious as the coming of spring. It was a Sunday afternoon. Amy and the captain were down at the marsh. Amy had been reading to him about the albatross. "Did you hear, Captain? The albatross is the largest bird in the world. Some of them are 12 feet from wingtip to wingtip, and white as clouds. Now you should remember this, Captain. For if you ever sail on the ocean, you'll likely see one of them, and you mustn't think it's an angel, because it's angels that come and take us to heaven when we die. So you mustn't be afraid. It's only a very big bird. And they are said to be friendly with sailors and ships. Sometimes they even land on a ship's deck." But the captain seemed not to be listening. Amy frowned and closed her book. The captain was mumbling some latitudes and longitudes to himself. Amy sighed and lay back into the alcove of her tree. She half closed her eyes and whisked dreamily at the long grasses with a twig. After a while the captain ceased reciting, for he had found a vacant place in his memory. After puzzling to himself for a few minutes, he spoke aloud. "Tasmania," said the captain. "I beg your pardon? Tasmania, sis. It's an island below the line, or in the southern hemisphere, as you would say. But confound it, if I can remember if it's south of Australia or off the Cape of Good Hope at the tip of Africa. It's a large island. Furthermore, and that's what makes it so bothersome, it's shipwrecks I'm worried about." "Why should a large island be so bothersome, more so than a small one? Less bothersome, I should think, especially if you were shipwrecked there." "No, sis, it's not the size of it I'm worried about. It's where it is that's got me troubled." "Does it matter, really?" said Amy, languidly touching her nose with her twig. The reply prompted the captain to his feet. This made him as tall as Amy was sitting down, so he could look her level in the eye. "Does it matter? I should say it matters." The captain was in quite an anxious state. He proposed a case to Amy to indicate how serious the problem was. "Let us propose the case that I was master of a ship, outward bound from Cape Hope, Africa, bearing for Tasmania. Now, propose the case that I thought the island lay directly south. But let us propose that I was wrong. Propose the case instead that the island of Tasmania lay directly south of Australia. There, you see, sailing before a good wind, confident that we would raise sight of Tasmania at last, and Tasmania being on the other side of the world almost. Where would I be with my ship and my crew?" "I don't know, dear. Where would you be?" "Why, lost. We would sail directly to the South Polar Seas and be crushed between ice floes, there to freeze to death for lack of proper clothing and provisions. Dead to the last man jack of us, and our ship crushed to splinters, and it would be my fault alone." The captain sat down again and sank his head on his chest in desperate concentration, covering his eyes with his hands, the better to search his memory. Amy plucked her lip to see the captain so disturbed. She had never heard of the island of Tasmania, much less did she know where it was, but she had the answer. Would it help to see a map? The captain looked up, hope in his eyes. "Into the bag, Captain," she said smartly. "We'll sneak into the ladies' library. I've been in there with Missy Clare. They've got big books in there, lots of them. Books with maps, books with charts, an atlas." "That's what I think," said Amy. "Into the bag." And that is it for Chapter 4.